Hello, this is Douglas Loyo, and in this video we're going to see the basic commands and workflow of Git. Okay, one of the first things that we're going to do today is we're going to start from scratch and we're going to clone a repository. So right now I'm in my computer C projects folder. And we want our console2 to also be in the C projects folder. I'm going to go into GitHub, where we will have our repository. We're going to click on the repository so we can copy the SSH address of this repository. Okay, so one of the first steps that you want to do when working with Git is grab a repository or start a repository. In this case, because we already created a fake play repository in GitHub, we're going to use that one. So the first thing that we have to do is go into our PowerShell console2 window, and we're going to clone this repository. So the command for cloning is git clone, and we're going to paste the address that we just copied. This will go into GitHub, authenticate with our SSH key, and it'll bring all the files and all the repository down to our machine. As we just saw, it created a folder with the basic files that we initialized the repository with. Okay. We're going to go into our console and we're going to go to the location of our repository. And now what we can see right now is that it says in a blue color, it says master right here. What that means, it means two things. It means that our current master branch is up to date. It's blue. And it also means that we are on our master branch. Something very important about Git, it's because it's so lightweight and so fast. You really want to keep with the workflow of always working on a branch, merging on a branch, and then merging your branch up to your master and pushing it to your integration branch, which is really your GitHub repository that the whole world can see. Okay, we're going to do a few examples right now. I'm going to add a new file, and I'm going to call it Doug. As soon as I add a new file, Git recognizes that that file has been added. It doesn't do anything with it, but it recognizes that it has been added. So there is a command called git status that shows us what has happened in our repository. So it says on branch master untracked files, use git add file to include in what will be committed. Nothing added to commit, but untracked files present. Use git add to track. Something that is really cool about Git is that it's very verbose, and it will tell you what it wants, or it will tell you what you need to express to get your work done. In this case, it's telling us that there's nothing to be committed. Okay. Another important thing about Git is that it has a staging area where you can stage files before you commit them. I'm going to explain what this is right here. This right here is part of the PoshGit plugin that we installed in the previous video. This lets us know when it's read that nothing has been added to the staging area to be committed in the future. So the +1 means that there's one file that has been added and that is not tracked. The squiggly 0 means that of the tracked files, there's nothing that has changed. There's no modifications on files. And the -0 means we haven't deleted any file at all. Okay, so in this case, I want to add this file to the staging area. To do that, we have to type in the following command: git add. And if we follow the instructions that Git said, it says that we can type in the file name. You can type in the file name, you can use tab and it'll put the file name in there, or you can use regular expressions to select the files that you want to stage in this case. So I'm just going to do Doug.txt in this case, right? I'll hit return, and now it turns it into green. This green means that we have files in our staging area. If we do get status again, it says that we have a new file that was added and the change is ready to be committed. To commit this file, the only thing that we have to do is say git commit, and something that I like to do a lot is just type CO, and if you click tab, it'll complete the command for you. So git commit, and then you always want to add a message to your commit, something very descriptive, right? So in this case, it's going to be adding Doug.txt file. Okay, and we're going to hit return. Okay, I forgot to type in something. For the message to be accepted, what I have to do is I have to do -m. I have to tell the commit that I'm going to add a message to this commit. So we're going to hit return, and this is part of the configuration that I didn't set up. So it's very important to follow the instructions to set up your Git account the right way. So really fast, what I'm going to do is I'm going to say user email, and we're going to do johndemo@demo.com, and we have to do username John Demo. There we go. Now we can return to our git commit -m, adding Doug.txt file. Now if you noticed, I do this, which looks like it changes the lines really fast, but the only thing that I'm doing is it has history of what commands I've typed in. So you can use your up and down arrows to see the last commands. Now if I hit return, we're good. Now notice that my master changed from being a blue color to be a green color. This usually means that your branch is in front of the origin, which is your integration branch in GitHub. If we do a git status, it'll tell us git status on branch master. Your branch is ahead of origin master by 1 commit. Nothing to commit. Working directory is clean. Our working directory is clean, but we really want to push this change out to GitHub. So I'm going to do git push, which is a command to do that. And I'm going to go into GitHub, and I'm going to confirm that our commit got there. Adding Doug.txt file. Who added it? John Demo. That's the user that I'm using right now. So there we go. We created a file, we committed the file, and we pushed it up to the server so everybody can see it. We're going to try a different thing now. We're going to modify the content inside of Doug. So if I type some text, and I save, if I go back to my console 2 and execute the git status, it tells me that Doug has been modified. And if we see our PoshGit also tells us right here that there has been one file that has been modified. Now let's say we want to commit this change. We would do git commit -am. And what is that A? That A is telling Git, hey, of the changes that you see right now, of the tracked changes, this is very important, of the tracked changes that you see right now, add them first and then commit. This is so we can save some steps. We don't have to go and say git add and then git commit. Now, very important what I said, the tracked files. If we add a new file right now, it will not add that file to the commit, and we'll show it in a second. So we're going to say adding some text to the doug.txt file. We'll hit return. Again, it committed and our master is green. Now before I push this up to the server, what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new file. We'll call John Demo, and I'm going to come into Doug again, and I'm going to say Doug modify this line. I'm going to save, and I'm going to say get status. So what happened here? It says we have Doug that is already tracked, that it was modified, and John Demo that was added. So we can see here +1 squiggly 1, which means there's one file added and there's one file that has changed. If I do git commit -am, updating content in doug.txt. If I do this, it will only commit the modified file that we did. So if I hit return, we can see how the modified file disappeared, but we still have the +1 over here. So to include this file, we have to say git add explicitly. Let's do that. In this case, I'm going to use a dot, a regular expression dot. That means every file, match everything. There we go, it added it to the staging file, and now we can say git commit -m. We're going to add a message adding empty John demo.txt, and we've committed it. If we do get status, it's going to tell us right here that our branch is ahead by 3 commits, right? We did 3 commits in this example. Let's see. Let's push up to the server. We pushed up to the server. So if we go into the commits and refresh, we can see the history of what happened. This was the first commit that we did, adding doug.txt file, adding some text to doug.txt file, updating content in doug.txt, adding empty John demo.txt. Okay, so we can see how all the commits that we did locally are now populated into our origin repository. Okay, now, as I said at the beginning, Git is very fast and it's very lightweight. You really don't want to work on master. What we just did is we worked all our changes, we worked on master. I'm going to show you how the real workflow should happen. The real thing is when you come in the morning, or when you're starting or about to start to work on a feature, the first thing you want to do is you want to pull changes from the repository. Maybe you're working on a team where people are committing constantly, and you want to pull in those changes as often as possible. So I'm going to say git pull. That's the command that grabs all the information, all the history from the server and brings it down to your local repository. We'll say git pull, and it says already up to date. That's nice, that's cool. Now, how to create a branch. There's 2 ways of creating branches. One is doing git branch and the name of your branch. You usually want to name your branch as descriptive as possible for the feature that you're going to do, right? So let's say in this case we're going to say update Doug feature. We hit return and it creates the branch, but we are still not in that branch. As you can see here, it says that we're still in master. So to go to that branch, you have to do git check out the name of your branch. And again, you can use tab to autocomplete, and it will for you. hit return, and now it says switch to branch, update Doug feature, play area, update Doug feature. Okay. Now we are on our branch. What we want to do is we update the text. Some more text here. Okay, we added some more content and updated this feature, right? We save. We do our get status. It is always it's always a good practice to do a get status to see what you're doing. Sometimes files get modified that you didn't intend to modify, and you definitely don't want to push those up to the repository. So in this case, we see that the only modified file is doug.txt. So we were going to commit this, git commit -am, adding more content, and we're good. Our branch has that feature, has that commit, has that change. Now you can usually do more work, more commits, as many commits as you need actually to save your work and to complete your work. So in this case, because this is a short demo, we're just going to do a few things. Okay, so imagine that in a working environment where you're working with a team, because you have other members that are in the team working and committing, they might push things to the server before you do. So one of the good practices say that you should pull as often as possible and merge those changes into your branch as much as possible. What does this really mean? This means if somebody advanced and created new features in your origin master, then you want to bring those down to your local machine and you want to merge them into your branch so your branch is up to date with the latest code. If you do this often, then you will save a lot of headaches if you have to have any merge situations. So let's do that. How do we do that? Continuing with the right workflow. Let's say I'm finished with this feature, right? So we would go back to master. How do you go back to master? You say git checkout master. This puts you back into master. Now something very interesting. Master doesn't have the changes that update Doug feature has. Let's see. You remember that we had some text here? Well, now it's gone, but it's really not gone. It went, or it stayed in the update Doug feature. Let's see if that's true. If I do git checkout update Doug feature and I open this file again, yes, there's our text. That's awesome. This also applies, and sometimes people get a little bit scared about this, is if I'm here in the update Doug feature and I create a new file, and we'll call this Jane demo. If I create a new file and add it and commit it, you can see Jane demo right there. But when I switch to the branch, to the master branch, it deleted the file. Why? Because that file right now only exists inside of update Doug feature. Here's also an interesting pointer. When you have stuff open with I don't know, your Visual Studio or whatever, and you switch from a branch to another branch, and it can't release that file to be able to delete it and switch, it might tell you that that file is locked and that if you want to retry to delete it. That sometimes is like a surprising message there. You're like, hey, what? It wants to delete things that I just did? No, it's not really wanting to delete them because you switched back to master and master doesn't have those changes. It tries to put your master back to the original status that it was in. So just don't be scared if you see something like that in the future. Okay. Now that we're on master, what we want to do is we want to pull from the source control that we have in GitHub, right? So we do a git pull. Usually, if it says that we're already up to date, no problem, we can merge our branch in and we're good. If we had changes, then we want to update those changes in our branch. Okay, so in this case, because we are up to date, this is a happy path, we're good. So the only thing that we're going to do is we're going to bring into master the changes that we made in the update Doug feature. To do that, it's very easy. We just say git merge the name of our branch. There we go. And as you see, the file Jane demo just appeared also. So now we can push to the server. Git push. As simple as that. Here we are. If we refresh, we'll see adding Jane demo, adding more content. Now, something that is really interesting about Git works like graphs. I don't know if in the past you're familiar with C pointers and stuff like that, but it really works very similar to that. And Git comes with a tool called GitK that will show you a graph of how things happened. This is the history. We have the initial commit, adding Doug, adding some text to the Doug text file, updating content in Doug, adding empty John demo, adding more content, blah, 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 right? So everything is here. So you can see who did what, when, and what happened. Very interesting. Okay. Now, we've covered how to create a branch, how to merge that branch in, but we haven't covered a scenario where we have another user committing to the repository. And we're going to do that. I'm going to add another account to my GitHub repository so we can see a little bit more of interactions. To do that, you go to your repository, you go to the admin, you click on collaborators, and we have Jane demo. I'm not going to use her right now. I'm going to use Douglas. Or I think I did Doug Loyo. No, I did Douglas Loyo. There we go. Douglas Loyo. And I'm going to add Douglas Loyo. On my local machine, I'm going to clone this repository down, right? So to do that, it's going to be very simple. I'm going to bring in my console 2 over here, and I like to work on D, so here we are. We're going to do git clone, and the same address of the repository, the same SSH, copy it. We're cloning it. This is a different machine. We're good. Player. There we go. Okay, so this is one of your other team members, right? This is Douglas Loyo. So Douglas Loyo comes in and says, okay, I'm going to create a branch, and I'm going to take advantage of this step to show you how to create branches in a faster way. You can also say git checkout -b, which is like a parameter saying, hey, create a branch, right? And we're going to call this update Jane feature. Update Jane feature. Boom. Instead of first creating it and then we have to switch to it, no, automatically we said check it out, create the branch, and leave me there. So it leaves us on that branch. Now, because I just pulled that whole repository in my machine, we can see that I have these files right there. Okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to modify Jane, and I'm going to add some text in here also. I save, and I'm done, right? So git status to see what was the change that I made. Sure, I want to commit that change, so I do git commit -am updating feature Jane. Return, I'm committed. I go to my master. I pull to see if there's anything that changed. We are good, we're up to date. Git merge our branch and push. There we are, up to date. Okay, now if I go back to my virtual machine over here, and let's say that we are in another feature, right? Get checkout minus B. We're going to create a branch and we're going to call it update Doug feature. Oh, okay, so this is something very important. If you do get branch, it'll list the branches that you have. You want to try to clean the branches, like delete them often, because it can get really messy. Believe me, I've been there, done that. When you stop using it, when you already committed that feature and you're not going to do anything else on that feature, it's a good practice just to clean it out. Exact moment, I'm not going to go into the detail of how to delete them. We'll do that in a second. I'm just going to create a different branch and we're going to call it update John feature. There we go. Okay, so we're going to open John. And we're going to add some changes to our feature. We're going to see the status. Yes, that's what we want. We commit, and now Doug, who was working also on our team, committed some files, but we don't know about that, right? Doug is probably in Austin, Texas, and I can be wherever in the other side of the world if I want. I'm going to go to my master, and I'm going to execute a git pull. So there were changes made to Jane demo, and I need to update my branch to these changes. So the easiest way to do this is, we have all those changes now in master, right? So what we're going to do is, we're going to go into our branch, the John feature branch, and we're going to bring in the changes from master into our branch. And the command to do that is get rebase master. That brings master in to our branch. And really what it does is, if we look at this as a graph, what it does is it moves the pointer to the front of master. We'll see this in a second. So what it does here is it rewinds to the common ancestor and then just plays the changes on top. So now our branch has the latest version of master. Now what you want to do is you want to go back to master. Oops. Check out master, and we want to bring the changes into master. So we do git merge update Doug feature. Not that one. Update John feature. See how it can get messy with the branches if you leave them there? This is a perfect example. Okay, so we brought in the changes, and now we do git push. We want to push these changes to the server. There we go. Now if we go into the commits and look at the history, we see that Douglas came in, did some modifications, right? And then I came in and did some modifications. Well, that's it for this video. This is just a quick introduction to Git. We'll go through more advanced scenarios in the future, in the next videos. Thank you. Have a great day. Bye-bye.